back! Yes, it's still me, Pixel Pete. I got a haircut, so I gotta redo my portrait. Let's get to it.
People have asked me several times what resolution I like to use. In general, I like to have a big size so I have a bunch of room, but I do like to have a HD resolution if I'm trying to mock up anything. And there's this site called Calculate Aspect Ratio where you can put in any size and it'll tell you what you should make the width or whatever to keep the 16:9 ratio. So something I also like to do is divide it by 16 to make sure I have a perfect grid size. So if there's a number that doesn't divide evenly by 16, I'll just change it to the closest one. Above the timeline, you can click this icon so you can move your timeline. I like to keep it on the right, kind of like Photoshop. And I also like to set up thumbnails. But if you do set up thumbnails, make sure that you set the size greater than 1. And check it out. It's kind of like Photoshop. We got thumbnails. Woohoo. I'm one of those people that prefers drawing characters facing left. It's more comfortable. I don't know if you know what I mean. You might have that kind of preference too. By the way, this pixelart program is called Sprite. There's a link in the description. I get a tiny kickback if you buy it on Humble, but unfortunately, I'm not even sponsored by them. I am going to change the art style a tiny bit because I want to add more detail. So I don't really like to add outlines inside of a face. So instead of adding an outline for the nose, I'm just going to change the color of it. You can do this for almost anything that you're drawing in pixel art. If you don't really want to give something an outline to make it stand out, just make it a different color. And with faces, you can get away with quite a few colors in a face. I think oftentimes people don't do enough shading in a face. With shading, you can completely change how a face looks because you can change the contours of the cheeks, of the nose. I mean, you know how much makeup changes the shape of a face? Well, the shading changes the face quite drastically too. When you're drawing ears are usually located about the same height as eyes. You can be a little bit lower, a little bit higher, of course, to create character variations. For lips, I'm just going to keep it simple, and then I'll start extending the jaw a little bit. This one's going to be kind of tough to make look great, and then give myself a hairline. Make sure you don't make the top of your character's head flat. I see that in a lot of people's art, and it's obvious that they're amateurs when they do the flat head look. You want to make sure there's enough contrast separating the jaw and the neckline, either with shading or outline. And now let's do the hair. For the hair, since my hair is short, I don't really have much that I can do, but I can still sort of like pick out strands to give it somewhat of a style, you know? I added a little glare on the side of the head. I'll need to go back and make that brighter. I like to put a lot of stuff down and then go in later and touch it up, just like I was doing the hairline. And as you noticed, I didn't do an outline from the start, and that's because I was changing the form of the head a lot. So I don't really like to add outlines to anything that I draw until I kind of feel like I know that that's the shape that I'm gonna keep, you know? So I work from inside out. Not always though, sometimes you can start with an outline, but I feel like it's more difficult to start with an outline instead of adding it in later. I'm one of the developers working on Dwarf. It's a tower defense dungeon crawler RPG. You can wishlist it on Steam now and check out some of the cool portraits that we did for this game. There's so many parts of this that look a little bit goofy, and this is the part where I move things 1 pixel over until it's perfect, you know? And that's a huge part of pixel art. Like, don't call it finished too soon, because there's a lot of times you can move pixels around and it can make something look really good. Even though something looks fine, you should always try different versions of it, and that's how you'll end up creating the best version of every little aspect of what you're drawing. Alright, so we're gonna do the shirt next. I have a super quick story for you guys about shirts. After high school, I started a clothing line. I would like draw t-shirts in Photoshop, and my brother and I made the website. And we were selling like 1 shirt a week online, and we were getting them screen printed or whatever. And basically it wasn't really a successful business or anything. But then I started working with YouTubers. I started creating t-shirt designs for YouTubers for free and like storing the t-shirts for them, and then we would split profits. And I worked with some pretty big YouTubers. Like I used to have Timothy Delgaddo's phone number, and we used to work with him and some other big YouTubers. I kind of ended up ruining that business, and that's a good story for another time. But I totally do need to create merch for Pixel Pete, right? It's about time. If you have any ideas, let me know in the comment section below. And if you want to submit art or show me some concepts, Twitter is the best way to do that. I tried a couple of different spots for the nose, and I kind of like it a little bit lower. It makes me look a little bit older. And but sometimes I can't decide, so I love to just like duplicate and change one thing and then go back and forth and change one thing. You should probably do this for almost anything that you draw. If I'm really into what I'm drawing, I do this every time. I love to duplicate and change stuff because I like to get like a second opinion or ask people to compare stuff. So here I started to create different versions of the eyes, because I hate it when I have something that I like and then I try something new and I like what I used to have better, but I already deleted it. So it's a way for me to go back if I don't like the new direction that I'm going. So I gave myself a rosy cheek, but trying to get the right color was really difficult. Instead of going back and forth color picking, a fun way to pick colors is to use the Hue Shifter. So I was thinking about adding like a little bit of extra shading and detail to the eyebrows, but sometimes like adding more detail is not a good thing, you know? Like there's something nice about simplicity, something charming about simplicity. And if you are animating your sprite work, oh my god, if you do too much detail, it is a pain in the butt. So I picked my favorite one, and now guess what? We start the process all over again. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's like very minor tweaks now because I'm almost satisfied with it, but I'm trying to see if I can just add those final few details that make me fall in love with it. So for example, I remembered that I needed to make the glare brighter. So I tweaked a bunch of little things, but the last thing I decided to add was my earring. And I don't know if you guys knew, but I have 3 ear holes. Oh my god, I meant three piercings. I definitely have only 2 ear holes. So I had 4 piercings, but on one side, 2 of them looked like they were further apart than on the other. So I decided to just let one of them heal up. Now I got 3. It's so hard to do an earring, and I just kept trying different things, but it was so difficult to make it stand out without giving it this huge outline that just makes it look like something else. One of the most difficult things in pixel art is sometimes wanting to do something like an earring, but not really having the pixel density to pull it off. Sometimes you just gotta say, you know what, I can't do it. And some details gotta be left out. I think I managed to pull it off though. So I got some feedback from my girlfriend, and she said, you know, I think your hair should be black, and I don't think you're that tan. And that's totally right. So it's good to get feedback so you don't miss obvious things like that. So yeah, I made my hair black, changed my skin tone, and I think it's a lot more accurate now. I think a fun way to end videos would be to give a shout out to people who mention me on Twitter. I'll show off a few pieces that I think are pretty darn good. Great job, guys. If you send me a GIF with a transparent background, I'll put it into a video. You can even send me the sprite file if you want. Just make sure the background's transparent. I think we're done. Check out the links in the description, and I'll see you guys next time. Dev life.
Please subscribe. Please subscribe to pixelpete. You better subscribe.